Hello and welcome to the Game Ranker Show. I am your host, Nate the Game Guy. In this video, we're going to take a look at the top 10 Sega Genesis games that you can play on Sega's highly reputable console from the 90s. These are the games that brought exceptional gameplay, great concepts, wonderful memories, along with a host of other aspects that made these titles superb choices and would help back the claim that Sega does what Nintendo don't. This list will also be focused on games made by Sega and will not include any titles made by third-party developers. There is also going to be a limit of one game per franchise, which means the best game out of a specific franchise will be placed right into this video. Please keep in mind that this video is going to be 100% opinion-based, so if you happen to agree or disagree, feel free to comment your thoughts down in the comment section down below, and let's have a civilized discussion as to what you may consider to be some of the top choices for the Sega Genesis. Now, without further ado, let's dive right into this video and take a look at some of these games in store. Kicking off the list at number 10 is Columns. This fantastic puzzle game is all about connecting three same-colored jewels in a row, whether it is horizontal, vertical, or diagonal, while at the same time you want to chain combos together to help clear things out and also gain more points. Just like puzzle games in general, it is very simple yet fun, and Columns without a doubt brought tons of enjoyment back in its day. The game also shows its influence from Tetris and shows many characteristics from another fantastic puzzle franchise, which is Puyo Puyo. Given the circumstances of what Columns introduced to players back in 1990 with its Sega Genesis release, the game has easily earned its way onto this list. Jumping into number 9 is Flicky. Before Flicky would be known as a prisoner inside of a badnik from the Sonic the Hedgehog games, Flicky was its own character from its own 1984 arcade game. Getting a Genesis port in 1991, the game offered fun and simplistic gameplay that was all about you controlling the blue flightless bird to save as many baby yellow birds from house cats and iguanas. The yellow birds would form a line behind Flicky, and the bigger the line to help get them to the exit, the more points you would get. But if the house cats and iguanas would happen to touch any of the birds in your line, you must go back and retrieve them. You do have the option to take out your foes by grabbing some items and jumping to throw them. Flicky is another title that is a phenomenal example that shows that sometimes a game does not necessarily need a complex story or gameplay to make it enjoyable, which is why Flicky makes it on to this list. Ranked in at number 8 is Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse. After Sega received permission from Disney to create this beloved platformer, the game left great memories for many owners of the Sega Genesis back with its 1990 release in North America. The game is all about Mickey Mouse going through many creative levels and stages to save Minnie Mouse from an evil witch. There are many great platforming sections within the game, and the player had the option to take out many different enemies in Mickey's environment by either jumping on top of them or throwing projectiles such as apples to wipe them out. This was a title praised by both gamers and Disney alike towards Sega for making a quality platformer that helped boost the library of the Sega Genesis to allow it to properly compete against Nintendo back during the 90s. With a high quality title such as Castle of Illusion, the game simply cannot be left out from this list. The next game at number 7 is Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. This puzzle entry is themed off of the adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog with its plot, opponents, and overall theme of the game. The goal of this title was to connect the different colored beans into a group of 4 to help create a chain. When a chain is created, there will be junk sent to the opponent, and the idea is to send as much junk as possible to defeat your opponent. While the game is clearly a part of the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise, it gave fans of the Blue Blur a different pace of action when it came to this entry. Mean Bean Machine was also a reskin of a Japanese Mega Drive title called Puyo Puyo, which had the exact same gameplay but with a different cast of characters, plot, and theme. Mean Bean Machine was a very fun entry into the Genesis library and makes a great entry into this list. Of course, as a heads up, there will be a small exception later on in this video due to a substantial difference between titles and gameplay. Popping in at number 6 is Comix Zone. This game is easily one of the most visually impressive and unique titles within the Genesis's library. The game is all about a comic book artist named Sketch Turner being trapped into his own comic book, and he has to stop Mortis, who is the main antagonist, from wreaking havoc. While the first impression of the game might be an average beat-em-up with impressive visuals, the game itself can offer a very fun experience with its challenges it provides, along with its own creativity. All the environments are all visually appealing with the game's comic book aesthetic and truly offers a one-of-a-kind experience. It is true that the game mostly revolves around beat-em-up gameplay, but it does offer puzzles that the player must solve, especially with specific items that can be found within the environment. Comix Zone is a great example of how creative ideas can implement entertaining experiences that are not only great to play, but are also a delight to look at, which allows this superb title to make an entry onto this list. Now, before this list continues along, I'd like to give a quick moment and invite all of you to consider stopping by my own personal game room channel, which is Nate the Game Guy, where you get to see my own personal video game collection, hear some of my tips when it comes to game collecting, along with me sharing other miscellaneous topics when it comes to game collecting. Now, with that out of the way, let's continue back onto this list. Spaced in at number 5 is ToeJam and Earl. The abstract but unique title is all about two alien-themed rappers named ToeJam and Earl that have crash-landed their ship on Earth, and it is your job to find all the parts necessary to help rebuild their ship. The gameplay is all about you looking and searching for the parts, but also looking out for presents that can contain different items that help make traversing the levels much easier, or can sometimes have items hurt you, and in the worst case scenarios, even kill you. The game at times will go out of its way to reward the player for thoroughly searching throughout each level by revealing hidden paths to find new discoveries. This is also a title that becomes even more enjoyable with its two-player co-op. ToeJam and Earl is without a doubt a classic on the Genesis that gave many great memories to Genesis owners thanks to its fun gameplay, abstract but unique concept, and being an overall great game. Another spaced out entry at number 4 is Rice Star. This overly vibrant and colorful platformer was certainly overshadowed by other games that were out at the time, but as the years have gone by, more have discovered as to just how delightful this platformer truly is. Rice Star implements a lot of creative platforming elements, with the main protagonist's stretchy arms that allow you to traverse the different stages in many creative ways, along with taking out the different enemies and bosses throughout the game. The gameplay is without a doubt much slower when compared to Sega's speedy counterpart, but with how the stages are designed, it works efficiently for the pace that Rice Star moves at. This is also another title on the console's library that is easily one of the top quality titles when it comes to its art style and visuals. Thankfully, this title also has the creativity and gameplay to make this game an excellent choice to dusting off the Genesis and having a go. The next entry that blasts their way into number 3 is Gunstar Heroes. The run-and-gun shooter brought in a ton of fun with its fast-paced gameplay, its weapons, and of course, its non-stop action. Fans of other top-tier run-and-gun titles, such as Contra and Metal Slug, felt right at home with this Genesis title. Thankfully, just like Contra and Metal Slug, this is another great run-and-gun game that offered a phenomenal two-player co-op experience, as both players would contribute to even more non-stop action while progressing throughout the game. When it comes to great choices to choose from the Genesis, Gunstar Heroes is easily a great pick thanks to the amount of enjoyment that comes with each playthrough, and is a highlight of a great run-and-gun shooter for the 16-bit console. Knocking in at number 2 is Streets of Rage 2. Anyone that has experience with this top-tier beat-em-up is probably not surprised that this game makes an entry. While the Genesis did not have Final Fight, it did have Streets of Rage, but it is 2 that takes the cake for not only the best entry in the series, but also the best beat-em-up on the library, thanks to its stellar gameplay, amazing soundtrack, and its delightful experience, especially for beat-em-up connoisseurs. Don't get me wrong, Golden Axe is also a very respectable beat-em-up series that is also a must-play on the Genesis, but it is Streets of Rage 2 that brought everything to the table of what a high-quality beat-em-up title should be, 2 improved upon multiple aspects from its original predecessor and also had very memorable stages to come along with it. Thanks to the overall experience of Streets of Rage 2, it is easily the best beat-em-up title on the Genesis. Racing into that #1 spot as the best Genesis title is Sonic 3 and Knuckles. At the beginning of this video, it was stated that there would only be one game from each franchise chosen, but due to the drastic difference of Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine and Sonic 3 and Knuckles in terms of their gameplay, an exception had to be made. For Genesis owners that owned both a copy of Sonic and Knuckles and Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Sonic 3 and Knuckles brought the ultimate experience. Not only did players get to experience the exceptional stages, music, and power-ups that Sonic 3 introduced, but there were also new gameplay elements now available thanks to Knuckles becoming a new playable character, which now gave players the ability to glide and climb throughout the stages, introducing new paths and choices to make throughout each playthrough while still keeping that fast-paced, side-scrolling platforming action that fans adored from the Sonic series, which easily makes this title to be the best Genesis game from its library. Thank you so much for checking out the list. Please be sure to check out these other videos right here so you can see even more games being ranked accordingly. Don't forget to subscribe and be sure to hit that bell notification button so that way you can be notified when there are more games being ranked. Thank you for stopping by and see you next time.